NEWS.MC on Monaco Info is brought to you by Monaco Legend Properties. Our exclusive interview with the personalities making the Principality.
Hi, my name is Olena Prykhodko. I'm the co-founder of the British School of Monaco. I was born in Ukraine, in a city called Kharkiv, which is the eastern part of Ukraine. And I lived there until I was 16. And I had a really, really happy childhood because, you know, I have two lovely parents. I went to a really nice school. And I traveled a lot when I was a kid. So I remember when I was maybe 7 or 8, I used to go to the UK with my mom quite a lot. And I always wanted to move and study somewhere abroad. So that was my kind of childhood dream since I was very little. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, always. My dad was an entrepreneur. My mom was a professor of law, quite a famous one in Ukraine. But I always wanted to have my own business. I remember I used to tell my dad that I wanted to do this. I think leadership qualities, you know, they have to be developed, but I think it's something that you're also kind of born with. I moved to France when I was 16. I finished school when I was 16. Back in the day, I was applying to American universities as well. I got accepted there, but I didn't go to the States. It was too far, and I just didn't feel like doing that. So I went to France, and I went to University of Nice because I used to go to Nice to learn French for several years before that. So I love Nice. I loved Nice. You know, I loved France. There was a film, Angélique Le Roi. You know, the old movie, the French movie, and I heard the French language at some point on the TV because the translation disappeared, and I just heard the French language. And I told my mom, that's it, I'm gonna learn French. So that's how I was maybe 10, 11, I started learning French. And then I went to a French university and I did law in Université de Nice. So I have a master's in law from French university. It's funny because lots of people that I met when I was in university are, you know, now working in Monaco. They have different businesses. They're young entrepreneurs. As we grew, as we developed, we kept in touch, and I see that, you know, lots of these people that are doing quite well. Put it very simply, I used to go out a lot in Monaco, and I actually met my husband also in Monaco in a nightclub, to be fully transparent. So, you know, sometimes it's not that bad of a thing. I started working in Monaco as well. I was working in a company that does taxation services, relocation services for residents in the Principality. So I did that and worked mostly with Russian-speaking clientele because my native language is Russian. And then I worked in a couple of other places. And actually 2 years later, we opened our business in the Principality, and we've been working together ever since. In 2016, we opened Modlex, which is a company that provides academic support, tutoring, preparation for exams. We used to do also homeschooling for the families who didn't want to take their kids to the school, or for example, for professional athletes that simply cannot go to the school because of their schedules. So we opened that in 2016, which is quite complicated to do in Monaco because it's a very réglementé, it's a protected sector, and we had to go through a lot of authorizations and permits with the government. And then in 2022, the business turned into something new. Now we own the British School of Monaco. We opened it 3 years ago, and we have around 150 kids, and we have early years, we have primary, we have secondary, and we have an individual program. So it kind of grew pretty fast. You know, we're very happy about that. We do a British national curriculum. So at the moment, we are starting our first year of IGCSE next year. So the first cohort of kids are starting year 10 in September, because we always opened 1 year at a time, you know. We opened primary, year 1 to year 6, and then every year we would add another year, year 7, year 8, year 9. So now the school is fully open for kids from age 3 until year 9, which is they're 13 at the moment, 13, 14. And so we will be doing the IGCSEs in 2 years, and then we're going to be doing A-levels from September 2028. Yeah. In 2018, I became president of Jeune Chambre Économique, and then after that, in 2021, I was vice president of JCI, but internationally, because there are local chapters of JCI, but then there is JCI International, and there I was assigned to countries in Europe. So I was assigned to Austria, Germany, Belgium, the Netherlands, I think Russia as well at the time, and I really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, it was during COVID time, so I didn't really travel that much, only at the end of the year, but it was still great. It's actually my husband's idea, the British School of Monaco, and it was also a natural development of what we were doing before, you know. We used to do the bespoke individual program, so we had the accreditations from Cambridge, from Pearson. These are accrediting bodies that provide exams to and curriculum to the schools. So we had that, and then we felt that there is a place for another school in Monaco. So there is the national system, the French system, then there is the International School of Monaco that does international baccalaureate, and we offered to the government to bring in a third type of education, which is considered one of the best educations in the world, the British education. We do purely in English, and then they have around an hour of French per day, which is really important because they live in Monaco. The kids, they need to speak French. We have a really, really good team of teachers. We bring everybody from the UK. They're highly qualified teachers that we select personally each time. We have a fantastic principal. He developed a very big school in Malaysia, which was one of the top schools in the world in the last couple of years. He finished that kind of project, and then he joined us to really take our school to the next level. It's important for us that the school becomes a place like a home for our kids, a home away from home, because it's a small school, it's a boutique school. We only have 16 kids per class, quite big classrooms, but it's, you know, we know everybody. I meet the kids in the street and I know their names, and same goes for the parents. So we try to create this very intimate environment in which kids, they strive, they learn well, and they really enjoy coming to school. That's really important to us. Sports is really, really important. We recruited a fantastic sports teacher who has lots of years of experience working in different schools and developing curriculum. So something that they would be doing, for example, in art or in literature, they would be duplicating this onto other subjects. You know, for example, they would be learning about Egyptian history, right? Well, then in art, they would do the pharaoh masks. Then they would read something else on literature. Then they would do something in arts and crafts or in math. So there's a lot of connection between what they're doing in subjects, because it's important for kids to understand everything in the world is connected. It's not just purely maths. Every day they do something interesting, and they obviously are using the infrastructure that Monaco has built. They go to the stadium. We do some of the sports in the places that are provided to us by the Education Nationale, but then also some of the private ones that we have a relationship with directly. But sports is crucial because it's for their physical and mental development, and also for, as I said, this teamwork, you know, this cohésion d'équipe. In 2018, and when I was president of Jeune Chambre, we spoke a lot about crypto and blockchain, and I remember that Monaco was very cautious about this kind of topics. And I can absolutely understand why, because you have to be careful with whatever is trendy in the world, especially in a place like Monaco. When Monaco decides to do something, it goes really fast. It takes time to decide, but it allows Monaco to take the right decision as well. What's also interesting is that you have quite a lot of young entrepreneurs, because in Jeune Chambre, you know, we would always have a discussion. Is Monaco a terre d'entrepreneuriat? Is it a place to do business? It really depends what kind of business you're doing here, right? I see that a lot of young entrepreneurs of my age, because I'm 32, are doing really well. They're striving. I think there is this kind of shift of mentality that Monaco is becoming a place for younger generation of entrepreneurs, younger generation of families as well. We see the moyenne d'âge, the age average in our school is quite young. You know, and we have a lot of families where the parents would be in their mid-30s and they would have 2 or 3 kids, and they come to Monaco. They like Monaco, they like the environment, they like the network, they like the safety, you know. I love being here. We went for a holiday in January. We went to Bali. Bali is fantastic, you can't complain. But then you came back here and I was like, I'm so happy to be back to Monaco. I'm so happy to be back to work. And that's great. We teach kids how to use AI as well, because it's important that, you know, they learn something that's called academic integrity, which will make them understand that they cannot just ask ChatGPT to write something for them. Because first of all, there are ways to identify that it was written by ChatGPT. And secondly, you know, they are doing this for themselves. So if I would just ask them to ChatGPT to write an essay about the Russian Revolution, it would just regurgitate the facts, but these facts are not going to become my knowledge, it's not going to become a part of me. We're also the first school to be completely phone-free in Monaco. So when we opened, from the beginning, we said we have no phones here. So the kids, they can have their own phone, but obviously it stays at the reception in a box, so they don't have any access to the phone from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. when they finish school. And we also have a program in partnership with Monaco Telecom Telecom called Phone Wall. And Monaco Telecom provides our families with rebooted Nokias that don't have access to social media. They can just send text messages and calls, because we do try to incite our parents to not give smartphones to the kids until the age of 14 or 15, to preserve their innocence, to make them more focused. There are lots of studies that prove that the constant use of social media is making their brains less attentive and less receptive to information. They took their time in the beginning to make some due diligence. They knew us, the Ministry of Education knew us, but then, having an organization that provides tutoring and homeschooling is not the same as opening a school, because education is a matter of public interest. So it's also a political decision for a government to decide to open a certain type of a school in the Principality. I believe that in life, you always need a little bit of luck. We actually came in the time which was really correct, because there were a lot of British nationals that started relocating to Monaco, a couple of years later, because of the changes in the government in the UK. We worked very closely with the government to open the school. Every time we opened a new site, we would prepare an entire dossier of like 200, 300 pages. We would show everything we're doing. We would have long discussions with them about what we're doing, how we're going to be doing. So I'm actually really grateful to Éducation nationale and Ministère de l'Intérieur for being so precise and so demanding, because, it's their job to make sure that what we do is of the highest standard. And we love sharing what we're doing. We say, if you want to come and inspect us, you come anytime you want. Our doors are always open. That's the same thing we tell to our parents. To be honest, Brexit is complicating one major thing for us, is the recruitment, because the British nationals are not Europeans anymore. So it's very, very difficult and very expensive for us to relocate good quality teachers. But that's our production, as you call it. Our core know-how is to provide good education with the help of really good practitioners, as you call them. It's a bit complicated, but it is what it is. We know what we are getting ourselves into. And with regards to what is good education, what I like about the British system is not only it's academically demanding, so we have quite high standards for our students, it also creates an environment where children, they have a feeling of belonging to something bigger than just their classroom. It's this feeling of belonging to a group, understanding the values of this group, because they will finish our school and all their life they will be defining themselves through the fact that they went to the British School of Monaco. And this is what we are creating, this very strong sense of belonging. And that's what I love about the British education, especially here, because you have so many multicultural families and it's very easy for them to kind of lose themselves. So we're trying to give this to them. This feeling of appartenance, the belonging to something bigger. We're doing something very meaningful in the community, It's not just a business, it's a social project. It's a project that helps families, it's a project that helps kids. We can go in one day from having quite a difficult negotiation with somebody or doing some building works for the school to seeing kids that are coming to the playground and waving at us because, they're having a good time. I can't imagine any other job where you could have a connection to kids like that, because I find this extremely motivational, seeing children every day, because they're just so lovely. I love kids. I have only one, but I love all of my 150 kids. I truly do. I want to make sure that they are happy in the school. I think the fact that there is so much purpose to what we're doing, that makes us extremely fulfilled and happy people on a daily basis with our work. And what I love in Monaco is that I like that it's small. I really do. I like that, I go outside and I know people, I meet people all the time in the street. I love that it's so clean and safe. And especially in the current climate, safety is crucial. And I'm being from Ukraine, I've known this for many, many years, that safety is crucial. And I think people are appreciating them more and more in Monaco. I see people every day now and they say, oh, I just realized how many policemen is there in this street. I was like, well, yeah, of course. It is safe. Nobody's scared for their kids' security. I've never seen Monaco as this kind of empty, glamorous place. Sometimes people, they have this préjugé. I've never lived that. I've never known Monaco like this. Sure, there is a glamorous part of it, but for me it's part of something more meaningful. I love the fact that there is le souverain, the prince, the continuity, because you always know that somebody is there, whatever happens. There is the continuity of vision of the government, and for an entrepreneur, it's super important. You need to know who you're going to be dealing with tomorrow, in a year's time, in 2 years' time. There is a person who has vested interests in the success of the state. And for me, it's a perfect place to do business because of that.
That's all for today. Thank you for watching News.MC, your English rendezvous on Monaco Info. Discover more interviews and stories on our websites, News.MC and MonacoInfo.com. This show was brought to you by Monaco Legend Properties.